So MSNBC are attacking Bernie Sanders again. Surprise, surprise. And this is definitely the dumbest thing I've seen all week. Let's take a look.
There's a ceiling. There is nowhere to go, but there is no up to go. And all of those support, I actually overheard someone saying that I thought was an interesting point, that basically at this point, if you are still supporting Sanders as opposed to Warren, it's kind of showing your sexism because she has more detailed plans and her plans have evolved. I thought it was an interesting point, and I think there may be something to it.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
It's a good answer, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, wow. Well done on this fantastic, deep, insightful analysis. Just to give you some insight on who this person is. Well, it turns out she is the daughter of Donald Sussman, who, surprise, surprise, was Hillary Clinton's biggest donor in 2016. This guy has donated around $22.8 million to Clinton's campaign. And this guy also contributed $600,000 to Correct the Record, which is a PAC that specialized in opposition research against Bernie Sanders. So we have a clear conflict of interest here, you know, and this chick has an undisclosed bias. And not to mention, I mean, I haven't even gotten into how ridiculous and absurd what she's saying is. I'm just giving you the background info on who she is. And man, I mean, this tells you everything you need to know. Okay. MSNBC, as usual, they bring on people who have a hidden bias against Bernie Sanders. They don't interrupt them. They just let them smear Bernie. And then there's no pushback. No pushback whatsoever. I agree with that. And then the other idiot laughs with him.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
It's a good answer, Chris.
Yeah.
What part did you agree with exactly? When she says...
Because she has more detailed plans and her plans have evolved.
No. All her policies are watered-down versions of what Bernie Sanders is running on. Okay, Bernie Sanders wants to eliminate 100% of student debt. Elizabeth Warren only wants to eliminate 95% for some reason. Bernie Sanders wants to cancel all medical debt. Elizabeth Warren doesn't and hasn't said anything about that. Bernie Sanders wants to impose a wealth tax starting at $32 million, which gradually goes up. And Elizabeth Warren, her wealth tax only starts at $50 million, and it's a fixed rate at 2%, all the way up to $1 billion. Bernie Sanders is running for Medicare for all. Elizabeth Warren flip-flops every 2 seconds on Medicare for all. We don't know if she supports that. She doesn't list it on her website. There's no mention of the bill that she co-sponsored. There's no mention of the legislation. There's no mention of universal single-payer healthcare coverage. Am I making this up? Did I write Elizabeth Warren's website? Am I putting words in her mouth when she goes on the campaign trail and starts saying there's many paths to Medicare for all and watering down, diluting the term? No. So this notion that Elizabeth Warren somehow has better plans than Bernie Sanders is absolute complete garbage. Yeah, that's her slogan now. I have a plan, but that doesn't mean that it's the best plan, and it doesn't mean that it's Bernie Sanders' plan. Like I said, everything she's running on is stolen from Bernie Sanders and watered down. So this notion that people are only supporting Bernie Sanders because they're sexists and not because they actually care about policy and they vote based on conviction is complete and utter nonsense. This is what they resort to when they have nothing of substance to attack Bernie Sanders on. They truly don't. His record is impeccable. His policies are impeccable. You can't attack him on anything. So this is what they resort to because they have nothing else. They resort to dirty tricks like screwing him over in the primary in 2016. They resort to smearing him on national television day after day. This is what they resort to. They resort to calling him a communist when he's literally nothing to do with that. He's not post-capitalist at all. This is what they have. And they bring on someone like Emily Tish Sussman to smear Bernie Sanders on television and call all his supporters sexist because they won't support someone running on stolen, watered-down policies. Yeah, sure. Also, look, two can play this game, okay? If you really want to play the identity politics game, one could argue that you're anti-Semitic because you don't want to vote for Bernie Sanders. If Bernie Sanders wins, we would have our first Jewish president. Why don't you vote for him? You're anti-Semitic. You see why the identity politics doesn't work? Because we're not interested in someone's religion or their genitalia. We're interested in what policies they represent, okay? And Bernie Sanders is a straight shooter. Bernie Sanders is the real deal. We know what he stands for. He doesn't flip-flop. And Elizabeth Warren, I don't trust her. Okay? When she says that she supports Medicare for all, but then on her website, there's no mention of single-payer healthcare coverage, and she always flip-flops when she's being asked a question, I don't trust that. I trust Bernie Sanders, who says, yeah, I'm for Medicare for all. I wrote the damn bill. And everywhere he goes, he says, I'm for Medicare for all. We need single-payer healthcare coverage. That's who I trust. It's nothing to do with sexism. So stop this bogus horse crap. And I mean, this is just emblematic of the journalistic standard that they have at MSNBC. I mean, look, there's literally no pushback. Those two dudes are just like laughing and like, oh, I agree completely. And the other one just laughs like a hyena with him. Really? Really? Are we still in 2016? We had this whole issue of if you don't support Hillary Clinton, you're a sexist. And her whole campaign slogan was, I'm with her. Look, man, again, the left needs to quit with this identity politics crap. We care about policy. We care about substance. Hillary Clinton was a representative of the establishment. She was a corporate candidate. So it makes no difference if she's a woman or not, because her disastrous policy stances outweigh the fact that she's a woman. And yeah, it would be great to have a woman president, but not when we have to compromise on our core convictions and what we believe in. Okay? And like I said before, man, before you give me Elizabeth Warren, I'd rather take Tulsi Gabbard, okay? If you really want a woman in the White House, why not Tulsi Gabbard? Why not Nina Turner? Why does it have to be Elizabeth Warren or Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris? They don't represent progressive values. It's that simple. They just don't. They're faux progressives, okay? Elizabeth Warren, like I said, she tries to wiggle her way around and pretend that she's a progressive so she can appease voters that would usually vote for Sanders, but she's lying to them. I don't know that she's going to fight for Medicare for all when she gets in office. So again, they have nothing on Bernie Sanders, and this is what they resort to. This is the journalistic integrity of MSNBC. As usual, all they do is attack Bernie Sanders. They fired Ed Schultz in 2016 for covering Bernie Sanders. This is what they do. They specialize in this. They are not a liberal or leftist news outlet. They are a tool of the DNC, of the Democratic Party establishment. Okay, their job is to defend the Democratic establishment, and Bernie Sanders represents a threat to the establishment. Know this: he is a clear and present danger to the elites, and they will try every trick in the book to smear him every step of the way. And they've done this, and they're doing it again now. Because they're scared. When they do this, they're scared. Believe that. Because when Bernie Sanders gets into office, he's not going to play around.